In today's video, I will walk you through creating a text message effect in After Effects. Hello there, my name is Shabir, and if you want to see more awesome tutorials like this one, subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell button to be notified whenever I add new content. After you have created your composition, select the rectangle tool by holding down the left mouse button on the rectangle tool and selecting the rounded rectangle tool. Create your rectangle by clicking, holding, and dragging. You can change the color of the shape from here. I'm using a blue color, but 1989FF is the exact color. To adjust the roundness of your shape, click on the drop down and go to Contents, Rectangle 1, Rectangle Path 1, where you can change the roundness of your shape. I'm going with 50, but you can adjust it the way you want. Let's rename the layer Text Bubble. Now we need to add text, so choose the text tool from the menu or by hitting Ctrl T and type the text you desire. The font I'm using is called San Francisco. Let's also rename the text layer My Text. You may notice that the text is not aligned with the shape, or the shape is larger or smaller than the text. You may adjust the size of the rectangle manually, but this is not the best solution because if you change the text, you must adjust the size again. The better method is to fix it by picking the text's height and width and assigning it to the size of the rectangle. To do so, hold Alt and click on the Size Properties stopwatch to open the expression menu. Now we need to assign our text layer to a variable. Since the variable name doesn't really matter, I am going to call it X, but you can call it anything you want. Type discom.layer and pass it the string my text as a parameter. Two more variables, one for width and one for height, need to be created. I'm going to use W for width equals to X, which is our text layer, .sourceRect@time. This function allows us to obtain the value of width, height, top, and left. We need the width for this one, so I'm going to type .width and finish with a semicolon. We can repeat this process for height as well. I'm going to use H for the variable name equals to X.sourceRect@time.height along with a semicolon. They both need to be assigned to values of X and Y now. In order to do this, we enter W, H inside the square brackets. W will be assigned to X and H to Y. At this point, the rectangle size matches the text. We will add padding later. However, we must adjust the rectangle's position, because changing the text will cause it to appear to be detached from the rectangle. By using expression, we can adjust the position as well. Hold down Alt key and click the Position Properties stopwatch. Again, assign the text layer to a variable, and give it any name you choose. I am going with X again. Add a variable for width. I am going with W equals X.sourceRect@time.width divided by 2, along with a semicolon. Add another variable for height like H equals X.sourceRect@time.height divided by 2 along with a semicolon. Two more variables need to be created to obtain the text left and top values. I am going with L as a variable equals to X.sourceRect@time.left along with a semicolon. And for the other variable, I am going with T equals X.sourceRect@time.top along with a semicolon. We can now assign the values to the X and Y of the position property, since we have all the values we want. Enter W plus L, H plus T, all inside the square brackets. W plus L will be assigned to X and H plus T to Y. Simply line up the shape and the text, and it will now follow the text even if you change it. It's time to give our rectangle some padding. To do this, search for Slider Control in the Effects and Presets tab, and add it to your shape layer. In the Effects Control panel, duplicate the effect. Pick the Slider Control effect and press Ctrl D. Select the first one, press Enter and change the name to width. Choose the second one, press Enter and change the name to height. Next, expand the expression menu of the rectangle's size property. Here for the X value, we have W. Add plus and pick the Pick Whip tool. Not this one is the property Pick Whip tool. Make sure to pick the expression Pick Whip tool. Then click, hold, and drag to the width slider we just added. Then do the same thing for the Y value as well. Add plus and pick the Pick Whip tool and link it with the height slider. These sliders now allow you to change the padding of the width and height. Now we have a perfectly working auto-scaling text bubble. What's really great is that you can just keep going to a new line by pressing return. Select your text, then use the character window to adjust the line spacing. So you are probably thinking, cool, we got this nice effect, But do I have to go through all that process for every single piece of text? No, you don't. In fact, by following, you can save quite a lot of time. Highlight both of your layers, right-click, and select Pre-Compose. Make sure to move all attributes into the new composition, and rename it something like Line 1, and click OK. Now double-click on this composition, highlight both of these, and press Ctrl+C to copy, then return to the other composition and press Ctrl+V to paste. It will be pasted right on the top here, but it will be independent, so drag it down, pick the text tool, and change this one. So you can highlight both of these again, line 2 for the name, move all attributes into the new composition, and press OK. So that's how you can easily build out the entire text conversation. But before we do any actual animating, we need to build out the entire text chat as if it were a still image. When creating text for the second person in the chat, the text color that you can use is a subjective gray. But if you want the exact color, it's 27272B. This is exactly what you should get after creating your chat. It's now time to give our text bubbles some movement, so they seem to be appearing on the screen. If you were actually paying attention on how these text messages appear on your phone, you would see that they simply rise in the size relative to the text itself, with the opacity changing from 0 to 100. However, the easiest way of doing this is instead of actually animating the position of each individual layers, right-click anywhere inside your composition, click New, and select Null Object. Highlight all layers, click and drag the little pickwhip tool to the null layer we just created. As a result, changing the position of the null layer also changes the position of all other layers. Let's move this to the bottom of our frame, or wherever you want the animation to begin. To make it easier to use, let's also toggle on this title or action save guidelines. In order to have my first line appear above this line, I move it underneath it, and add a keyframe for the position property. Next, move the playhead by 10 frames. You can do this by pressing Ctrl+Shift+right arrow, and then move it above the guideline. Right-click on the last keyframe, select Easy Ease In from the Keyframe Assistance menu. Now choose line 1, hit T to bring up the opacity property, set its value to 0%. Bring the playhead to the start and add a keyframe. Then go forward until one frame before the last keyframe of the position, and increase the opacity to 100%. As a result, you get this. Simply drag the playhead to the desired spot for the second line to appear, and add a keyframe. Once again, move the playhead by 10 frames, and then move the text above the guideline. Right-click on the last keyframe, and change the keyframe assistant to Easy Ease In. Now choose line 2, hit T again to bring up the opacity property, set its value to 0%. Go to the first keyframe of the second animation, and add a keyframe. Go forward until one frame before the last keyframe, and increase the opacity to 100%. After going through the remaining lines and adding some sound effect and background, you should see something like this. Please feel free to ask any questions you may have in the comment section below, and I will do my best to respond. Subscribe for more tutorials and hit the bell to be notified when I upload new content. Thank you for watching.